ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
Hey, Jules and Jez here. Join us as we unpack the news of the week on Not Stupid.
We also find some beautiful and surprising things to share with you.
Can I just clarify? No music in your ears, no podcast playing in your ears, no phone, no photographs, just
being in the world.
Yeah. Radical.
You can find Not Stupid on ABC Listen.
And now watch us on ABC iView.
It's a move that will further anger the Israeli leader. But from September, Australia will recognise a Palestinian state, following declarations from nations including the UK, France and Canada.
Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority. We will work with the international community to make this right a reality.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the situation in Gaza has gone beyond the world's worst fears.
The Israeli government continues to defy international law and deny sufficient aid, food and water to desperate people, including children. This vital aid must be allowed to get to the people who need it most. This is about much more than drawing a line on a map. This is about delivering a lifeline to the people of Gaza.
Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu says recognising Palestinian statehood is a win for Hamas, and he's defending his decision to expand the war in Gaza. Today, ABC Middle East correspondent Allyson Horn on Netanyahu's war plans and why his own military is opposed to them. I'm Sam Hawley on Gadigal land in Sydney. This is ABC News Daily.
Good afternoon. I'm glad you came here because I'd like to take the opportunity to puncture the lies and tell the truth.
Allyson, Benjamin Netanyahu, he doesn't actually give press conferences very often, particularly when international journalists are there. But he did that on the weekend, and it was really marked by his defiance. Just tell me about it.
Yeah, so, in 3 years of reporting on the ground there, I can count on one hand the amount of times that international journalists were given access to Benjamin Netanyahu. It's even less for Israeli journalists. So he really doesn't give these press conferences unless there is a groundswell of international recognition or pressure or criticism around what's happening inside of Gaza. And that's kind of what we've seen happening over the last few days.
And hundreds of trucks have gone in recent days. This is preventing hunger, but it's not prevented the global campaign of lies that we have all witnessed.
So in this press conference, he kind of defended Israel's actions, which isn't surprising.
So in Gaza, despite Hamas's obstacles, 2 million people are now getting access to humanitarian aid. But I'll tell you who isn't. The only ones that are being deliberately starved in Gaza are our hostages.
He even referenced Australia at one point, saying that if an attack that had happened by Hamas, as it did in Israel, had happened in Sydney or Melbourne, that Australia would have gone down the same route.
If right next to Melbourne or right next to Sydney, you had this horrific attacks, I think you would do it, at least what we're doing, probably maybe not as efficiently and as precisely as we're doing it.
And of course, Allyson, Australia has now joined a list of countries moving to recognise a Palestinian state. So the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, he says he's been given commitments from the Palestinian Authority on key points, like recognising Israel's right to exist, demilitarising and holding elections.
This is an opportunity to deliver self-determination for the people of Palestine in a way that isolates Hamas, disarms it and drives it out of the region once and for all.
But it's a move that really angers Benjamin Netanyahu, doesn't it?
Yeah, and in this press conference that he gave, he spoke about how if Australia, along with the UK, Canada, France, which have already said that they will recognise statehood at a UN meeting in September, Mr Netanyahu said if that happens, this would be a reward for Hamas. And he's been pretty emphatic, saying that it would be shameful if Australia did that, and that it would open a rabbit hole that Australia would fall into. Those are his words.
To have European countries and Australia march into that rabbit hole and buy this canard is disappointing, and I think it's actually shameful. But it's not going to change our position.
To be clear, recognising Palestinian statehood, it's very unlikely that it would change anything on the ground. It wouldn't put an end to this war. It wouldn't mean that Israel had to leave as an occupying force from Gaza. It wouldn't change the situation in the West Bank where Israel is an occupier there. What it would do, though, is it would continue to put pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu that some of the world's biggest countries and biggest powers want there to be self-determination for Palestinians and want there to be a Palestinian state, which is currently not a situation that the Israeli government wants. This idea of a two-state solution is pretty much dead from the Israeli perspective. So I think it would be highly symbolic. It would show that a lot of countries are now trying to agitate Israel more towards rejoining this conversation around re-establishing a Palestinian state. But at the moment, that is absolutely off the table from an Israeli perspective.
Well, Allyson, it was on Friday, of course, that Israel's Security Cabinet approved this plan to take control of Gaza City, a plan that is actually not endorsed by the Israeli military. Why do you think that is? Just tell me about that.
Well, the Israeli military for a long time has said that it feels like it's reached the threshold of its military capabilities in Gaza. It believes that it has dissuaded and targeted Hamas to the point where Hamas is no longer a credible security threat. And they also don't believe that they can get hostages back either. They believe that the most credible way of getting hostages back is to reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal. That is not the view that's being taken by the Israeli government, in particular Benjamin Netanyahu and some of his right-wing, very far-right coalition partners. So they did have this Security Cabinet meeting the other day where it was decided that Israel would now push into Gaza City and begin a full takeover of Gaza City. Now, this is really significant for a couple of reasons. One, because Gaza City is really seen as, I guess, the symbolic heart of Gaza. And Gaza City is one of the few places within Gaza that hasn't really been destroyed as much as places we've seen like Rafah in the south or, Jabalia up north. Presumably, that's now going to end. It will be laid to ruins. But more than that, the issues are around the Palestinians who are currently taking shelter there, because we don't know the exact figures for Gaza City, but we think it's somewhere around 1 million, have fled to Gaza City to escape fighting elsewhere in Gaza. And the question really is, and Israel hasn't been able to answer this question, is where are they going to go? Where are these Palestinians going to have to move to again when they've already been displaced, some of them a dozen times? They are questions that just haven't been answered yet.
Yeah, and the thing is, Allyson, this is a plan that is actually being condemned by families of the Israeli hostages. We saw protests on the weekend, and they were really passionate about this, weren't they, when they were speaking? It was really quite moving.
My husband is still there. Every invasion, every bullet, every airstrike could cost him his life. I'm terrified. I'm angry. I won't stay silent.
So there were 50 hostages still in Gaza at the moment. Israel believes 20 of them at least are still alive. And the government seems to believe that they're being held, at least a large number of them, in Gaza City. So they are saying to the government, please don't do this. Either they might be killed by Hamas or they might be killed by Israeli airstrikes, which is something that we've seen throughout the last 22 months of this war as well. Israeli hostages have been killed by Israeli fire. They want the government to make a ceasefire and hostage release deal, but that is not what Netanyahu is planning.
No, absolutely not. And also, Allyson, there are members of his cabinet who actually say this plan is too timid.
Yeah, so some of these ministers, Bezalel Smotrich is one, another one is Itamar Ben-Gvir, they are almost holding the Israeli Prime Minister hostage in a way, in that they have threatened to withdraw their support from the government if Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't do what they want, and then he would lose power. And they have called for there to be an expansion, for this assault into Gaza to happen immediately, for it to expand to the entirety of Gaza, including other areas that Israel currently doesn't occupy in there. So they are vowing now to quit if Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't push through with these plans.
All right, well, Allyson, let's consider now what expanding the military offensive in Gaza would actually look like. How quickly could this actually happen, do you think?
Well, I think the plan is for it to happen fairly quickly, but there are a few key things that would be considered within this. One is those Palestinians who are already displaced and where they would go. The United Nations says about 86% of Gaza is already currently occupied by Israel. So that means there's this tiny, tiny window, tiny, tiny pocket of land where people can credibly live. Gaza City is one of them. There are two other sort of areas, Al-Mawasi and Deir al-Balah. So where are these people going to go? I think it's probably going to be a time frame of, I would say, about 2 months. I really don't know, though. We're hearing reports that there is a massive build-up of troops on the Gaza border. I know from people and contacts within Israel that they're sending out messages for more reservists to be called up to start this massive advancement towards Gaza City. So I think initially it probably could happen quite quickly, but you're talking about the displacement, again, of nearly 1 million Palestinians.
Wow. Yeah, well, Benjamin Netanyahu, he told Fox News last week that Israel planned to occupy the entire Gaza Strip, but eventually hand it over to Arab forces.
Are you saying today that you will take control of the entire 26-mile Gaza Strip?
Well, we don't want to keep it. We want to have a security perimeter. We don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to Arab forces that will govern it properly without threatening us and giving Gazans a good life.
But there is concern that might not happen, I assume.
Well, that's another question. I mean, what does that really mean? What are these Arab forces? No Arab country has come out so far saying that it wants to be involved in an Israeli plan to rule Gaza. And then Benjamin Netanyahu has said he doesn't want Gaza to be ruled by Hamas, which it currently is, or to be ruled by the Palestinian Authority, which has, a sense of control over the West Bank. So then there's a question, well, who are these Arab forces? And I think this goes towards the continuing criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu and the trajectory of the war. What is the longer-term plan here? And in particular, what is the plan for the day after the war ends?
We can talk about the day after until eternity. No one's going to go in there unless we finish Hamas, and we're able to finish Hamas. And we will finish Hamas.
All right. Well, Allyson, while the international community is expressing its dismay, the situation, of course, on the ground in Gaza is, well, deeply troubling, to put it mildly. There are some really terrible reports emerging from there. And simply, things could just get a lot worse from here, couldn't they?
Yeah, well, I think if we're staring down the barrel of at least 1 million Palestinians being moved out of Gaza City, where are they going to go? There is no land, there is no area that could really feasibly shelter these people. International journalists are still not being allowed in there to be able to report and to give an update on what is happening inside Gaza. We have brave colleagues inside Gaza who are helping to give information to us to be able to help inform the rest of the world about what is happening inside there. It does seem that things are going to continue to get worse there.
Allyson Horn is a Middle East correspondent for the ABC. This episode was produced by Sydney Peed and Cinnamon Nippard. Audio production by Sam Dunn. Our supervising producer is David Cody. I'm Sam Hawley. Thanks for listening.